we're back. So the top four of the TNE Invitational. So we're going to show you the bracket just to see, who we're going to be watching. We're actually going to stagger the top four matches. So everyone's going to get their time to shine from here on out. And we're going to run some predictions in the chat. I know everyone in chat has been missing that. So you get to lay down your channel points for who you think is going to advance throughout each of these matches. The first one we're going to watch is gozuuu versus LightsOutAce. So we saw LightsOutAce on camera playing Xena mid-range. gozuuu has this very interesting Elysian deck that is playing the new promo in Nom Nom's Big Pan. So we'll see how that pans out. And then after that, we'll be watching Prakalakan against Game Grump, which is Destruction Heroes against Xenon. So some grindy matches here, but we already did a deck tech with LightsOutAce. Instead, we're just going to look at gozuuu's list. So kind of walk me through what's going on here.
So it looks like Elysian mid-range. Nom Nom's Big Pan, not gonna lie, don't know what that does. But I'm excited to see new cards.
It says it in the graphic.
Oh, it does, but I can't read. It's too small. Discard a card, your units get plus. Oh, yeah, it's the thing that kills Unleash stuff.
Right. So it actually kills all the X5s, of which there's a lot in the format. But when you discard a card, you pump your team this turn. But there's a lot of ways you can discard cards. You can discard cards with Bren's Insight and give your team +3/+3. You can Torgob's Wares to discard a card. And if you had any Unleash cards, I guess that doesn't help because you discard at the end of the turn. But yeah, Bren's Insight is the one I'm really looking forward towards.
Yeah, that's very cool. I'm definitely excited to see how this deck plays. It looks like it could match up pretty well against Xenon.
Yeah, so the card I'm actually most excited for isn't all of that. It's actually Curiox. I think Curiox is just an unfair card. It just does so much. Like, its body is very relevant while also just like providing huge card advantage.
Yeah, the Dragon's Eye is definitely no joke. Drawing 3 cards for free is really good. As we see the opening hands, though, definitely not excited about LightsOutAce's hand.
I don't know. It has 3 Dinosaur's Nest on the play that you can play. You just
Oh
inscribe
yeah,
Evelina.
I guess if you inscribe Evelina, you can go that route.
I mean, let's see. So in terms of answers, gozuuu really only has Waystone Igniter. I don't know. I could see it. Like, I'm normally very against like these 1 power hands. I mean, this is pseudo too, and you're missing your other faction. But I think triple Dinosaur's Nest is good enough on the play. Like, I think I would actually keep it.
Yeah, the more you talk about it, the more you might be convincing me.
Oh, I can sell anything. I can. I'm like a bad used car salesman or something.
How about gozuuu's hand? What do you think about that?
I don't think it does anything. Like, you kind of have like 1.5 dead cards. It doesn't curve out. Like, sure, you can like play a nest and then mount on 3, or you mount on 1 and then you can't nest that early. Like, I think you're just looking for more power. Like, you're trying to curve out a little bit more efficiently than that. Like, I could see keeping it, but you know that this is going to be a little bit more of a grindy matchup. You just want more power in your openers. This
Yeah,
one,
that's fair.
this one also stinks, but you might just keep it on the back of it being the second. Okay, that takes a lot of discipline, and I think I agree. I would have spent more time thinking about it, but I'm pretty sure I would have also went down. And LightsOutAce keeps the 7. There we go. We're on the same page.
Wow, we're doing it. Okay, so Dinosaur Nest for days against, and then okay, so gozuuu does not lead with the Waystone Igniter. He'll be pretty happy about that.
Yeah. Oh, but now gozuuu has their own Dinosaur Nest. That's a really tough call. You can like let the nest produce a 1/1 if you wanted to, just to get your nest down sooner.
Well, he can still play the nest next turn, can he?
Right. You just don't get the 1/1 right away. But like it's your 1/1 versus their 1/1. Yeah, it probably evens out in the end.
Well, but you get a 2/1 this way instead of a 1/1.
Yeah, that's true. So from Lights Outside, I guess you just play the Dinosaur's Nest and the Waystone Igniter their Dinosaur's Nest. This is how it's supposed to work, right? Just the game is only about Dinosaur's Nest, and then we'll proceed from there.
Yeah, wow. This Vikram is definitely not going to be doing much. On gozuuu's side, Oh, he already does have triple primal. He's got all his influence requirements online
Yeah,
already.
not trivial, but I wonder if we'll see the display turn one of the dinosaur's nests into a 1/4. I feel like that's the direction I would want to go in, but like especially because you can probably, if you're gozuuu, you can probably deduce what Lights Out Ace's keep was now, and you just know with cards like Shrivel and Vikram in the deck, it's just like I can just win this game if I'm like a little more variance reducing. Like if I just simplify the game a little, and I can do everything I want to. I have this Kuriox on deck. And it's like Lights Out Ace is like two Shadow Influence away from doing the actual scary things.
That's true. He does have enough he does have enough power to play Krogar or next turn anyway.
Right, right.
But yeah, I guess he's not doing a whole lot besides that. Now, what do you discard here? You have to keep the 6 power, I would assume, to be able to play Kuriox. So you're either discarding Plunk or Hexivore?
I like discarding a power so that way both power and non-power are good for you.
I think I like discarding the Plunk. It just doesn't do anything on a board filled with 1/1s.
Yeah. Well, since the dinosaur's nest is flipping, it's probably not very good, but yeah, I think I've come around to it. It is probably right to discard Plunk. I kind of forgot
Alright.
about one of them turning into the Shelter Valley here. Okay, so do you trade? So the problem is if you trade, then you're suffering from like the flyer being able to get in there every time. And you have endurance, so you can kind of play at your own pace.
Yeah, and you also have the mount to make it a 6/6 if you were inclined to block.
There it is.
Oh, okay. So the pan doesn't do a ton here just yet.
I mean, you can just pan the Krogar if you want.
Okay.
And then you can just
And
Dino
then
Nest.
follow up with a dinosaur nest. It makes sense. Hexivore's doing a decent job holding back the team here.
Yeah, just stats. Okay, so through the unknown, go and get back a Waystone Igniter. Yep. And then you're able to answer the Dinosaur Nest. And then the next one could get back Krogar if you want to. I mean, if Lights Out Ace finds another Shadow Source, it is going to be pretty bad for gozuuu in that stealing endurance units is pretty good with Vikram. You get to attack with a turn because it can't be exhausted. So gozuuu trying to bring the beat down. I like this line a lot.
Yeah, this is actually a really heads up play because by giving the Hexivore +5/+5, then if the Kuriox gets stolen, you at least have a blocker for it.
Mm-hmm. And wow, so the second Shadow Source is drawn, the Kuriox is stolen, and all of a sudden it's very much in Lights Out Ace's favor. So, you know, you could say that Lights Out Ace got lucky there, but in some ways Lights Out Ace got actually pretty unlucky in that they kept a one like time sigil hand and then had, you know, 5 total power and didn't find a shadow. So I think it, you know, just it evens out over time.
That's fair. That Vikram was just such a huge swing. Although Nom Nom's Pan, I guess, does kill Vikram and gets you your Kuriox back.
Yeah, unfortunately, we know that the last card Lights Out Ace's hand is the second through the unknown. So just able to take the Vikram again and attack for lethal.
Oh, good point.
But it looks a lot closer than it could have been.
This was definitely an exciting game one.
So many dinosaurs' nests.
Yeah, so Triple Dinosaur's Nest, actually good enough, even with 1 power.
Yeah. So yeah, do you think sure the game flow might not have been what you would have expected in the like in terms of development, but do you think like the result is like what you would expect on average, or do you think Lights Out Ace has the advantage, or do you think with a slightly better draw or slightly worse draw from like a slightly better draw on Gosu's side or a slightly worse draw on Lights Out Ace's side, do you think like it could have broken the other way?
I definitely think it could break either way. However, I would have to give the advantage to Lights Out Ace. I think that cards like Vikram are so swingy, and Gozu just doesn't have as many big swings like that on the other side. They're more set up to deal with kind of like opponents going wide, not
Mhm.
really opponents like using your own resources against you.
Yeah, I think it really just comes down to like how the board looks like when you play Curiox. Like that game is very different if there's no Vikram involved. Like I feel like it's very much in Gosu's favor. And in terms of answers to Vikram, let's see, there's two display of survivals, the Nom Nom's Big Pan, and then the four Krogars. It's really not much. And you can
Yeah,
cut.
there's not a ton. Vikram just kind of like swings almost any reasonably balanced board heavily in Lights Out's favor, at least for one turn.
Hmm.
I mean, Gozu definitely has things that he can do on his turn, but in terms of doing things on his opponent's turn, he's really kind of just sitting back and watching for the most part.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. All right, so we're getting straight down into it again. So both players have a dinosaur's nest in their hand. Lights Out Ace has the Waystone Igniter. Lights Out Ace's hand is like it has all the small end and like enough power. Like sure, it doesn't have the second time for Field Medic, but looks serviceable. What do you think about Gosu's hand?
Gozu's hand looks too ambitious, I think. I mean, it's nice to have the nest on two, but the display feels very far away.
Hmm.
And if Lights Out Ace deck was slower, Plunk could do some work, but Plunk doesn't really line up great against Dinosaur Nest. It kind of slows down the aggression. I think I would throw this back and look for something with a little bit more influence.
Yeah, if it's the first seven, I would mulligan. But if it's the second seven, I'd probably keep.
That's fair. I would definitely keep if it was the second hand for sure.
So the decision to play the Zoltan Conclave on turn one is because if you draw a seat, you want to make sure you have the sigil in your hand. That way you could play your two drop and then a three drop. And if you just think you're making time almost every time with it, then you want to maximize for that.
How do you feel about Dinosaur Nest over Plunk to open?
It's tough. I think I would have played Plonk,
Me
but
too.
it's a little bit easier for me to say. But um, I think Gosu was trying to set up this line though.
Yeah,
So
I think on the play, I want to get Plunk down as early as possible, and so that you get some card draw off of him. Not even considering the fact that obviously, Lights Out Ace had the Waystone Igniter for the Dinosaur Nest.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like the plan here was Nest, hopefully that's good, and then Terrax mount the Plunk that you play. I wanted to play Plunk and then Terrax mount that if I need to jump over, and then take it from there. But it's really tough. Like how you want to develop in the early game is like it's definitely something that requires a lot of thought before the match too. Like when you're looking at deck lists or practicing on ladder and stuff, just thinking how you want the game to kind of shape up. But here we have the flying plunk that's kind of just threatening to do a bunch until Lights Out Ace chooses to two for one themselves. And that's kind of what happens here. I guess it's not even a two for one when the Saloon Massacre is able to kill the Waystone Igniter. But the Waystone Igniter already ate something, so I'll stop keeping count and just looking at the board.
Yep, and a non-flying Plunk is a lot less scary than a flying one, but still can do work. Although I'm guessing that it's gonna get ambushed here.
Yeah, the question is whether or not it's contracted. So if it's not contracted, you're able to display of survival. Here, you can you can still display of survival, which keeps your plunk alive, and then it actually gets rid of invulnerable. So that if you play some other games such as Magic the Gathering, it actually would have still had invulnerable, but in games like Eternal, it looks at the whole quality of the card, gets rid of that, and then just makes it 1/4. It's a little bit different with attachments. If you had like a weapon on it, it would keep its ability, but it's not true here.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that it loses invulnerable. I feel like that is not necessarily consistent with even Eternal, and that some units, like when you transform them, stay invulnerable. So Krogar taking down Plunk's shield, gaining some life.
Yeah, so we're at like some pseudo parity. Like it looks like the way the cards line up, people are just not gonna do nothing. Like people are just not gonna do anything for a while. So from Lights Out Ace, the question's really first, can you attack? Which I do agree with. I think you can attack, even if it's a field medic. It's not that bad for you. Um, the second question is, do you actually want to play this Dunehill clan, or do you think you can wait to see if you get quote unquote unlucky and draw enough power to be able to play two of them instead of just one of them? Like, how much do you feel like the 4/4 is actually making inroads on the board? I think the big kicker for Lights Out Ace is that you have Devour, so you can kind of just like, okay, I'll Devour the 1/4 and kind of like curve out from there.
Yeah, I think I would have been greedy and tried to get two 5/5s for my Doonhill. Uh, Mostly because I had the Devour and I could like devour, chump the Plunk if I needed to, and then devour in a pinch. But I definitely respect just running the 5/5 out and trying to close the game faster.
I heard you like Devour, so I allow you to draw some Devours with your Devour, so then you can Devour your Devour.
Ooh, that's next level.
Okay, so we see the attack here, and it just like can't go that badly for Lights Out Ace. Like everything's kind of just fungible. Like, okay, this 5/5 is that 5/5, and fine, this one has endurance, but I have field medic, like whatever. Just simplify the board for me, gozuuu. Like I'm attacking. Uh,
I
one one thing that can be considered from gozuu's side is like maybe you trade off your Curiox with the Dunehill clan, and then you try to get a Plunk attack in. It's bad against Field Medic and a lot of the other follow-ups, like if there's just any other 5/5. So maybe you just still try to trade off the board in some sort of way.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say that I like double blocking the Doonhill. I would have taken 5 from the Krogar. Because you have the Krogar in play, if Lights Out Ace were to play something like a Vikram and steal your Curiox, you could just pretty easily get it back. And I think that the 5/5 in the air is really the way that gozuuu wins these games. So I'm
So,
surprised to see him trade it off.
well, just to counter, it's like you can end up in a spot though where how do I express this? Like Curiox's body is as much a strength as it is a weakness. So like imagine like you're assuming that when you Vikram the Curiox that Lights Out Ace doesn't have Devour or something to do with the Curiox, and that you're able to Krogar it. Like all those might not be able to line up, and if your Dragon's Eye isn't very good, are you just not going to play Krogar then? So like by simplifying the board, you almost open up your options a little bit more. But it can really go either way. Like it's a really tough decision.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I definitely did not consider any sort of interaction beyond, oh, I've got Krogar, I can silence Vikram, I'm a little safe.
Yeah, it is a little safe, which is why it's like so enticing. Like it's, I feel like gozuuu might feel reasonably enough like at ahead or even like pseudo parity, knowing that the Dragon's Eye's on top, that they just want to simplify the board state. But yeah, it was a tough decision. Here we see the Rat King trying to kind of set up a potential saloon massacre. So sacrificing first, maybe not necessarily the most optimal sequencing, but you make do with wherever you are in the turn. Um, gozuuu is able to connect yet again with this Plunk, so that must feel pretty good.
Yeah, this Punk is doing a lot of work.
There ends up being a question as to like when do you just run out Krogar? Like now that you have the second one, I feel like, and you still haven't seen Vikram yet, you can probably just play one. Hmm. So that is a concession to Saloon Massacre, just saying like I want this 5/5 because we know the Hexavore would have been able to connect regardless.
Well, it also plays around future field medics too, to just guarantee the damage in the air.
Yeah, that's true too. Okay, so you have to play the Krogar first because you want to take that with the Plunk.
Yeah,
And
definitely agree with that. Krogar's probably the best thing you could be doing on this turn.
mhm.
Interesting to see what Lights Out Ace is going to do with this Through the Unknown. Doesn't do anything with it.
Hmm. So let's
I
see.
guess. I mean, two Dunehill clans don't do a ton here.
Yeah, the Vikram's also just fine. Like because you still don't have good blocks afterwards, and like to play Vikram and Dunhill clan this turn feels kind of bad.
Yeah. That's why I was expecting the Through the Unknown to get back something else.
Hmm.
But I guess we're just going to use Vikram to slow down the plunk advantage.
Yeah, you're
But
still taking like
we're
10 on the
going to take
swing back.
10 damage here this way. Oh, because. Okay, so we are going to play a single Dunehill clan.
Yeah, I think that is what you have to end up doing, just to not fall behind their Krogar.
So Krogar silences Vikram. We get plunk back, but it's exhausted, so you don't get any advantage there.
Hmm.
Uh, but Krogar and the Hexivore can definitely come in here.
There is, you might be allowed to not attack with the Krogar. One reason is Nom Nom's Big Pan, where you might be able to make it a 6/6 if you're able to play it and then discard a card. Um, but then, like, you do know that Lights Out Ace gets to make this attack, so, like, maybe you're allowed to attack because of that. The other thing is, if you attack with your 5/5, then you get to just trade with the silenced units and then a Slew Massacre, which might just come down anyways because of the plunk in the air. Effectively is able to kill an extra Krogar, which might not be like what you would want to do. Like the silenced units would die to the contracted Saloon Massacre anyways. And this plunk is like pretty much what's winning goes through the game.
Oh yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Alright, so Curiox is gonna give us a Dragon's Eye first, and then Plunk is gonna draw it. That's pretty good synergy. And now we see the Krogars are coming in.
Yeah, I think the math just changes now that you have Curiox in play. Like you need to do whatever's best against a Vikram is pretty much the plan.
Dragon's Eye drawing 3 cards, even though we're contracted out. That is just wrong.
Free is free. Yeah, so gozuu's at this life total. Like, Lights Out Ace always has to make that attack, and I think gozuuu just realizes their life, you know. Doesn't really matter there, and gozuu's able to take down game 2. So, that game, I think, played out maybe in a slightly more traditional way. Not to say that gozuuu has the advantage per se, but just kind of like that overall, like, tit-for-tat battle. Like, okay, we deal with the very early Dinosaur's Nest. There's not a billion copies of them. And then, like, let's see how the leftovers play out against each other. And we saw Vikram not being able to play as big of a role in that game as it did in the first game.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed with Teriak's mount that game. The flying on all of the, I mean, obviously Plunk flying is great, but even the 5/5 Hexivore with flying did a ton of work, much more than I would have expected.
Right, if you look at Lights Out Ace's list, the removal spells are Call the Hit, Slew Massacre, Shrivel, Rat King, I guess, and Vikram. So when you have a 5/5, it kind of just deals with all those in their purest form. Like you might try to combo a Rat King like minus or maybe a Slew Massacre minus with a Shrivel or something like that. But it's actually like pretty bad news for you. I actually think the easiest way for Lights Out Ace to get back into those, and we haven't seen in either of these games, is actually, one of my favorite cards, the Blackmar Carnosaur, because then you're able to actually like fight back at least on the life total, or maybe you're able to taunt and like get some 2-for-1s there.
Yeah, that's a great point. That the Carnosaur does do a lot of work in that spot, and we didn't see that. But Curiox really just once again, I mean, I guess it didn't do a ton, but drawing 3 cards with no slouch didn't do that much damage, but it really, I don't know. I feel like it's a huge part of Gozu's game here.
Yeah, and one thing that's overall like pretty interesting is, do you know what Brent's insight is really good at finding?
Uh, Relics.
Yeah, and Curiox. And then do you know what Curiox is really good at finding?
Everything.
Well, more insights in Curiox, and then those are good at finding more insights in Curiox. So like it's just this like virtuitous cycle or whatever they're called. Like your deck, like all the cards are just saying, hey, draw me a bunch more cards. And then at some point, like, sure, like we identify that Vikram is kind of like one of the more key cards on Lights Out Ace's side. But like once you start the chain, it's just like, okay, sure, my quantity of answers to Vikram is a lot less than you would expect, but I'm also seeing this many cards every game.
That is definitely true. Yeah, a lot more cards being drawn on the side of Gozu than I anticipated.
All right, so we're gonna head down to the final game of this semifinals. So Lights Out Ace should be on the play from having lost that game, and we're obeying play draw rules in this top 8. What do you think about the hands?
Can't really see Lights Out Ace's hand too well. Gozu's hand seems somewhat suspect. I guess we can inscribe Evelina.
Well, when you know how many dinosaur nests Lights Out Ace is capable of drawing, I think you might have to keep it with a double Waystone Igniter.
That's fair. And then, okay, so for Lights Out Ace, light on power, light on early threats. Don't think we can keep this.
It does have Vikram, which is one of the best cards in the matchup. Ultimately, it looks like he agrees with you, and now it has double Carnosaur, Black Maw Carnosaur with 2 Call to Hits.
Yeah, this is arguably worse.
You are going first, so you know you can kind of say like, okay, I get to play my Carnosaur a half a turn earlier or whatever by going first, and then if I'm down on life, like I feel like Gozu's deck doesn't actually have a lot of good answers to the Black Maw Carnosaur, so it's
Yeah,
like.
I think with a hand with like Lights Out Ace's hand, I'm really afraid of an early plunk. But if Gozu's going to lead with Dinosaur Nest, I'm a lot less afraid.
Oh, interesting. The Torgov's Wares. So you can't play Hexavore this turn. And then just digging for more power, perhaps? I feel like... I feel like I might have just played Waystone Igniter with the intention of trying to lure out a Saloon Massacre or something like that. But I think they're just trying to get their power online and yeah, just playing a little bit slower. Pretty aggressive call to hit there, but just trying to stymie the effect of the Dino Nest. And then the reason why you do it there is because if you draw any of your 4 drops, so say a Dunehill clan, you won't have the extra power available.
Makes sense, and we don't need to inscribe because we've already guaranteed ourselves getting to 5 power.
Gozu not being able to play a 4th power and still missing on time is not really what they're in for, and it looks like the Black Maw Carnosaur, as I suspected, is just going to tear up this game.
So, do you lead with Black Maw over Krogar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, what are even the answers? Like, the answers for Gozu is literally just combat. Like, or
yeah, that's true.
Or display of survival.
Or
like,
display.
But like, you already know that your opponent's missing power.
Right. Yeah. Currently, can't even cast display even if he had it.
Yeah, and the Black Maw has taunt, like, and then you're just gonna play another one. It has lifesteal this turn. Like, Gozu literally needs to just. It's tough. So you could have either played the second Dinosaur Nest and then just hoped to trade 1 for 1, like just chump because you have to. Or you could play another unit and just throw everything in front of the Black Maw. And I think like both are just really tough decisions. But it's true that if you get the Dinosaur Nest to flip, at least they become 3/3s. So then you would only have to trade 2 of them for it.
Yeah, you also have to be afraid of like what's in Lights Out Ace's hand. He hasn't really done anything for a few turns. So he could have something like a Saloon Massacre, which would not be great if you're just throwing out a bunch of small units into a Carnosaur.
Yeah, I wonder if Plunk plus the Nom Nom's Big Pan is worth attacking. But you can just line up the double block, which has a very similar effect. But you need to deploy more units because let's see. If your opponent has 2 taunt units and you have 2 units, do you have to block 1 on each?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
each taunt demands its own block before
Okay.
you can do any kind of double block.
Right. So it might be possible that gozuuu has to think about deploying extra units here just to be able to double block one of the Black Maw Carnosaurs.
Yeah, it'd be nice if he could just play a Hexavore, but does not have the influence for that right now.
Right. And doing exactly that. So not even contracting the second one, which I think is correct. So here you get to double block one of them and then put the Spiteling on the other one.
So I'm curious why no contract, because if you do contract, right, you take 2 debt. If you draw the power, which you would need to play the Hexavore, it's most likely going to be undepleted. So it wouldn't really stop you from playing that down. I think I would rather have the bigger unit.
I guess they're hoping that the Nom Nom's Big Pan is able to kill something, attack with the Plunk, and then death. Take that to draw a card.
Okay.
Which is what's going to happen here. So that definitely is the plan, and it's not even that bad of a plan. So here I think you just attack with the Plunk and try to double block. It also takes lifesteal off the table for the Carnosaur since you'll have 1 less health than your opponent.
Makes sense. Yeah, gozuuu desperately needs that time source, but once he gets it, he's got things to do.
Oh, you said time card, right? So we drew a Krogar.
Oh, I thought I said source.
You did. Yeah, so the Black Maw, I think you can actually just hold it back for a turn. Interesting.
Nope.
So my intuition would have been to hold back for a turn. That way you interact favorably against Plonk. Oh wait, sorry. You probably can't because the Dinosaur Nest is flipping. It's actually pretty interesting. I think I would need more time to think about it.
Yeah, the math on the Dinosaur Nest with them flipping and adding 2 to everything really messes with stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
So I guess the nest is flipping next turn, not this turn?
Yeah. Yeah. We already have 1 flip nest, and then the next one's flipping next turn. All right, got it. So the question is, yeah, I wonder. You do have like quite a bit of life in theory, but you only have so much time against the Dinosaur Nest, I guess. Here comes Hexavore though. 8/8 Hexavore.
Yeah, that time source doing work.
Yeah, so what I was trying to figure out is like, can you use your life total as a resource? That way, the times you draw another power, you play 2 Dune Hill Clans 2 turns in a row. All right, he's back.
And he's actually gonna do a ton of work here.
I mean,
At
maybe
Deadly.
just trading with the Hexavore, maybe.
I don't know, because if you let the Hexavore hit you once, then you can gain lifesteal on the way back.
Ooh, that's not enough damage, right? It's an 11 points difference right now. I guess it's less.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm off by 1.
It's okay. Yeah, I think. Oh wow. So really, just using the Nom Nom's Big Pan here. I think what gozuuu wants to do is be allowed to attack with Plunk. Oh, discarding the Hexavore. I don't even know if that's better than discarding Krogar. But I guess you just want to have answers to Vikram. But the Dinosaur seemed really good. There's the combo.
Alright, Lunk's going into the air, and Hexavor's coming in. Nope, Hexavor's not coming in.
Yeah, it just trades with the Carnosaur, which feels like it might be destined to do anyways. But
Well, it does have Overwhelm, so
yeah. No, no, no. Lights Out Ace just double blocks. And then you would kill the Carnosaur.
that's true.
Okay.
So Carnosaur takes down 2 units, and then I expect we're just gonna see him return. Yep. So, do you play Krogar before this attack? Otherwise, you're not going to be able to play it.
I think I do. But I think it's close.
Okay, so we elect not to. Instead, we're going to get Torgov's Wares.
Okay, so
Waystone
you're
Igniter gives us a
making
chump
the-
blocker?
yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the Carnosaur has lifesteal now.
Right.
And so I think all Ghost is trying to do is the plan I kind of joked about between games of just drawing cards, finding cards like Bren's Insight, finding Curiox, and just like riding that. We've seen these Torgov's Wares, this Plunk. I feel like at some point we're overdue to just see the first Curiox, and that will put the nail in the coffin. I think that's the long-term plan.
Field Medic is a great temporary answer to Carnosaur, at least for a turn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, another Terriax mount.
Oh, wow.
That does a lot.
Yeah, so if you had one more power, you would have been able to mount the Hexavore and then Field Medic with Contract to stop the lifesteal. But so that would have cost 6 power total. But we don't have enough power for that. So instead, you probably just take debt here, and then use Field Medic on defense. And then your Hexavore is big enough to be able to stop the Dune Hills. So you end up in a spot where, like, is Lights Out Ace in a spot where they can even play around Field Medic? And then what does playing around Field Medic even look like? Is it just attacking with Carnosaur? Like, if you attack with everyone, then the Field Medic's going to block the Carnosaur, and then you lose one of your 5/5s to Hexavore. If you just attack with this and they have Field Medic, then you gain nothing. I mean, I do think this is the best way to play around Field Medic, but it doesn't feel great. And we know that gozuuu has access to the Terriox mount. The Terriox mounts is a game, though.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Wow. So gozuu's innovative, Elysian deck. I guess it does depend on if they want to play around Shrivel, but you have lost your point to it anyways. Like, it's not getting any better for you, so might as well go for it. And gozuuu making to the finals of the TNE Invitational.
Wow, well played. That was a great match to watch. I really liked all the little decisions and play points.
And I like seeing the new promo card on display. Like, maybe that is what Elysian was missing. Just being able to make the board big enough to be able to deal these large chunks despite all the Carnosaurs. I think like 5 Carnosaurs were played that game, and it still wasn't enough.
That's very true. Yeah, no, Big Pan doing work. So congratulations to gozuuu for making it to the finals.
Right, and the one thing I want to highlight is since gozuu's in the finals, the next match is effectively the match for Worlds, because gozuu's already qualified for Worlds. So if gozuuu were to win this event, the prizes would be switched. So like if gozuuu pretty much gets the $50 regardless, I guess.
Oh, but yeah, he's locked up the second place prize.
Right.
By making it to the finals.
And then so the next match between Prakalakin and Game Grump is literally a match for Worlds. So that's like we'll still probably play out the finals, but in terms of just the big prize in the eyes of most players in this tournament, and viewers at home, who's going to make it to Worlds, it's actually the next match. So we're going to have a quick break, and then we'll be back for that other semifinals match.